I'm 80 years old. I live alone in a house on Birch Avenue that's too big for one person. And I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. I've never been happier. When Elizabeth passed, everyone had the same reaction. The neighbors brought casseroles. My daughter called every single day. My son suggested I move into one of those senior communities where there's always something happening. Bridge on Tuesdays, bingo on Thursdays, organized fun. I appreciated the concern, I really did. But what nobody seemed to understand was this. I wasn't lonely. I was grieving. Yes. Missing someone and being lonely are completely different experiences. One is about loss, the other is about emptiness. I had loss. I didn't have emptiness. 13 years later, I still don't, and I figured out exactly why. If this resonates with you, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone you care about. Maybe a friend who lives alone. Maybe someone who's worried about living alone. These lessons took me 8 decades to learn. Maybe they can help someone else figure it out faster. Now let me share what I've learned. 5 specific things that make the difference between solitude and loneliness, between living alone and feeling alone. Because here's what most people get wrong from the start. They think alone equals lonely. It doesn't. Not even close. This is the first thing you need to understand, and it's the foundation for everything else. You can sit in a room with 50 people and feel completely isolated. I've done it. Holiday parties where everyone's laughing and talking and you're standing there thinking, does anyone here actually know me? That's loneliness. True loneliness happens when you feel invisible even when people are looking right at you. It's being in the middle of a crowd and feeling like you're on the outside of glass, watching life happen to everyone else. But you can also sit in your living room by yourself, reading a book, drinking coffee, and feel perfectly content, complete. That's solitude. And solitude isn't something to fix, it's something to appreciate. The confusion happens because we've been taught that connection requires constant proximity. It doesn't. Connection is about depth, not frequency. It's about whether someone truly knows you, whether you matter to them in a way that's real. I talk to my daughter Jennifer every Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. We've been doing it for years now. Sometimes we talk for 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. We don't force it. But that one conversation gives me more genuine connection than a week of shallow interactions with acquaintances ever could. Some people need daily contact, some need it less. The mistake is assuming there's a correct amount. There isn't. What matters is figuring out what you actually need versus what you think you're supposed to need. Those aren't the same thing. I realized something about 6 months after Elizabeth died. I was eating dinner at 5:30 every evening, same time I'd eaten it for 42 years. Why? Because that's when Elizabeth liked to eat. She got hungry early. I adjusted my entire schedule around it without thinking twice. One evening I noticed I wasn't even hungry at 5:30. I was eating out of habit, so I waited, had dinner at 7 instead, and it felt strange at first, like I was breaking some kind of rule. But then it felt liberating. That's when I understood something crucial. This is the second thing. When you live alone, you need structure, but it should be your structure, not someone else's routine that you're maintaining like a museum exhibit. Structure matters because without it, days dissolve. You wake up, do some things, go to bed, wake up, repeat. Everything blurs together into an undifferentiated mass of time. That's when loneliness creeps in. Not because you're alone, because you're drifting. So I built my own rhythm. 7 in the morning, I'm up. First thing I do is make coffee. Same mug every day. It's dark blue with a chip on the handle. I sit in the chair by the window and I watch the street wake up. Joggers pass by. Cars leave for work. The newspaper gets delivered. This probably sounds mundane. Maybe it is. But it's mine. It's intentional. Each morning I'm telling myself, today is a real day with a shape and a purpose, not just empty hours to fill. I read for an hour after breakfast. I take a walk at 10 unless it's raining. Lunch is simple. Afternoons I work in the garden or fix things around the house. Dinner at 7, news at 8, bed by 10:30. Is it exciting? No. Does it need to be? Also no. The point isn't excitement. The point is rhythm, predictability, a framework that makes each day feel distinct instead of identical. And here's what's interesting. When Harold from across the street asked me to help him with his computer last Tuesday, I knew exactly when I could do it. 3 o'clock, right after my walk, before I started dinner prep. My routine didn't trap me. It freed me, because I knew where the flexibility was. People who live with others get this structure automatically. Someone else's schedule creates the framework. You eat when they eat. You adjust to their rhythms. Living alone, you lose that external structure, which means you have to create it yourself. But once you do, something shifts. You're not following someone else's routine. You're living according to your own design. And that brings me to the third thing, something that took me months to figure out. You need something that depends on you, something that needs you to show up. For me, it's a ficus tree named Gerald. I know that sounds ridiculous, but stay with me here, because this matters more than you'd think. Gerald is a ficus tree. He sits by the south-facing window in my living room. I bought him 3 years ago at a hardware store clearance sale for $8. He was half dead then, brown leaves scattered around his pot like casualties. Now he's 4 feet tall with glossy green leaves. I water him every Thursday morning. I check his soil. I rotate him so he grows evenly. And here's the thing. Gerald doesn't care if I'm lonely. He doesn't have opinions about my social life, but he needs me. Every Thursday I have to show up. You'd be surprised how much that matters. Having something alive that depends on you creates a tether to the world. It's accountability without judgment, purpose without pressure. It doesn't have to be a plant. Could be a pet, though I'm too old for dogs now. Could be a garden. Could be birds you feed every morning. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that something living needs you to be present and consistent. On the days when I wake up feeling like maybe I'll just stay in bed, I remember Gerald needs water, so I get up, and once I'm up, the day has started. That simple act of showing up for something else pulls you forward. Fourth thing, be ruthless about who gets your time. This sounds harsh, but when you live alone, your social energy is finite. You can't waste it on people who exhaust you or relationships that are mostly performance. I have 3 real friends. Margaret, who I've known since 1964. We met at church. Doris from my book club. And my neighbor Helen, who's 83 and also lives alone. 3 people. That's it. But these are people who actually know me. People I'm genuinely glad to talk to. People who don't drain me. I used to think I should have more friends. Should join more groups, should say yes to every invitation, but every social interaction costs something. Energy, attention, emotional bandwidth, and not every interaction gives back what it takes. Margaret and I can sit in comfortable silence. We don't have to fill every gap with chatter. Doris challenges me intellectually. We argue about books. Helen understands what it's like to live alone at this age without me having to explain. Those 3 relationships are worth more than 20 casual friendships where I have to be polite and pleasant and perform normalcy. Quality beats quantity every time. 1 real conversation is worth 10 surface-level ones. If you're an introvert, give yourself permission to have a small circle. There's nothing defective about needing less social interaction than other people. Different isn't wrong. Which brings me to the 5th thing, the big one. You have to actually like yourself. Because when you live alone, you're your own constant companion. If you can't stand your own company, you're going to be miserable. If you genuinely enjoy your own company, living alone becomes something else entirely. This took me years to figure out. I spent decades thinking I was too quiet, too boring, too content with simple things. I'd compare myself to gregarious people and feel like I was failing at life somehow. I wasn't failing. I was just built differently. I like reading for hours. I like my coffee ritual each morning. I like watching birds and tending Gerald and going to bed early. I don't like parties. I don't enjoy small talk. I don't want to be busy for the sake of appearing busy. And at 80, I finally stopped apologizing for any of that. If you're struggling with living alone, ask yourself this. Are you struggling because you're actually lonely? Or are you struggling because you think you should be lonely? Those are completely different problems. The first one needs more connection. The second one needs permission. Permission to be content with a quieter life than society says you should want. I miss Elizabeth, I do. 42 years is a long marriage. There's an empty chair at my table that will always be empty. But missing someone isn't the same as being lonely. I carry her with me. I think about her every day. And I also have a full life without her. Different than when she was here, but still full. My kids worry I'm isolated. I understand why, but I'm not isolated. I'm just quiet. I have my routine, my plant, my books, my birds, my 3 friends. I have enough. Some people are wired for solitude. I'm one of them. Maybe you are too. And if you are, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not missing some crucial piece everyone else has. You're just built for quiet. And quiet can be a perfectly good life if you stop fighting it. So that's what I've learned. Alone and lonely aren't the same thing. Build your own structure. Have something that needs you. Choose your people carefully. Make peace with yourself. Those 5 things won't eliminate every hard day. There are still mornings when the silence feels heavy. Still evenings when I wish I had someone to tell about the cardinal I saw. But those moments pass, and what remains is a life that fits me. A life I chose. A life I'm not apologizing for anymore. The world will tell you that living alone means something's wrong. That you should want more people around, more activity, more noise. Maybe some people do need that, but maybe you don't. And that's okay. Gerald needs watering tomorrow. I should probably finish this and get some rest. Gerald can wait another minute though, because there's one more thing I need to say. If you're watching this and you live alone, or you're thinking about it, or you're worried about someone who does, remember this. The quality of your life isn't measured by how many people are in your living room. It's measured by whether you feel known, whether you have purpose, whether you've made peace with who you actually are. I'm 80 years old. I live by myself. I talk to 3 people regularly. I water a plant named Gerald. And I'm not waiting for my life to become something else. This is it. This is the life. And it's enough. Figure out what you actually need, not what you think you're supposed to need. Build a rhythm that's yours. Find something that depends on you showing up. Keep the relationships that matter and let go of the ones that don't. And most importantly, stop apologizing for being wired for quiet. You're not lonely just because you're alone. You're only lonely if you feel unseen. And you can be seen by 3 people who truly know you far better than by 30 who don't. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, someone living alone, someone afraid of it, someone who thinks they should feel lonelier than they do, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. There are more stories like this, more lessons learned the hard way, more truth that might help you avoid the mistakes I made. Now I really do need to finish this. It's almost 7, and that's when I eat dinner. Not because anyone's telling me to, because that's when I'm hungry.